Have you ever caught yourself lying awake at night, wondering why the person you care about doesn't seem to care back with the same energy? It's a painful question, isn't it? You give, you show up, you hope, and yet something feels one-sided. You're investing your time, your emotions, even your dreams, and still, you're left waiting for them to meet you halfway. That ache you feel in your chest, that heaviness in your stomach, it's not just about love. It's about your value, your worth, your belief that you deserve more than crumbs of attention. And you do. You deserve someone who doesn't make you doubt if you matter. The truth is, when someone is not investing in you, the mistake so many people make is to compensate, to give even more, to prove yourself, to try harder as if your extra effort will suddenly unlock their hidden love. But that cycle only leads to more emptiness, because love is not earned by overextending yourself. Real love is a partnership. It flows both ways. And if you keep pouring into someone who isn't pouring into you, you'll eventually run dry. You'll feel small. You'll start to believe the lie that maybe you're not enough. But here's what I want you to hold on to right now. You are more than enough. Your value doesn't rise or fall depending on how someone else treats you. Your worth is not up for negotiation. The only mistake you must avoid is abandoning yourself in the process of chasing someone who refuses to see you. When you forget your own needs, your own happiness, your own standards, you lose the very thing that makes you magnetic in the first place, your self-respect. So why should you stay with me until the end of this message? Because by the time we're finished, you will not only see the truth behind why he isn't investing in you, but you will also feel empowered with the courage to stop making this mistake. You will gain clarity, strength, and the unshakable confidence to reclaim your energy, to stop begging for love, and to step into a life where you attract someone who matches your effort, your heart, and your vision for love. This is not about blaming him. This is about saving you. It's about breaking a pattern that has probably held you back for years. Patterns of chasing, of overgiving, of settling for less than you deserve. If you stay, you will learn how to break free from those chains and finally stand in the place of power you were meant to live from. Imagine what it would feel like to no longer wait for texts that never come, to no longer twist your heart hoping for scraps of affection, to no longer beg for the bare minimum. Imagine how light, how confident, how unstoppable you would feel knowing your love is a gift, not a bribe, that transformation is waiting for you. It starts the moment you decide you will no longer invest in someone who refuses to invest in you. And if you can stay with me, if you can let these words sink deep into your heart, you will walk away not just with understanding, but with the fire to act, because the life you're craving, the love that honors you, will only appear when you stop making this one mistake. And today, right here, right now, is where that change begins. When someone withholds their effort, their attention, or their love, it can feel like rejection on the deepest level. That silence, that absence, speaks louder than words, and your heart begins to question everything. You start asking yourself, what's wrong with me? Why am I not enough? But here's the truth. Most people never say out loud, it's not about your worth, it's about their choice. And when someone chooses not to invest in you, that decision reveals more about their limitations than it ever does about your value. Yet the dangerous mistake is believing their lack of investment is proof that you need to shrink, bend, or sacrifice more of yourself to be chosen. Psychology shows us that humans are wired to seek belonging. We crave connection because our brains are designed to release dopamine and oxytocin when we feel loved and valued. That's why it hurts so much when we don't receive it. But here's the trap. You start confusing the chase with connection. You start to mistake the pursuit for proof of love, and that pursuit becomes addictive. Every small response, every tiny bit of effort from them feels like a reward, like maybe you're finally winning their heart. But that's not love. That's conditioning. That's your brain being trained to accept crumbs instead of demanding the feast you deserve. This is where courage becomes everything. Courage to step back. Courage to stop running after someone who isn't running after you. Courage to say, if you won't meet me here, then I will walk my path without you. That decision may feel terrifying because it requires facing the unknown. But the unknown is far better than a known misery. Staying with someone who doesn't invest in you is like slowly suffocating your soul. Walking away, even if your knees tremble, is like opening a window and breathing fresh air for the first time in years. The power lies in shifting the question you ask yourself. Instead of, why don't they love me enough? Begin asking, why am I still giving my love where it's not returned? That shift puts the control back in your hands. It stops the spiral of self-blame and places the responsibility where it belongs. When you start asking better questions, you begin building better answers, and those answers point you back to your strength, your standards, and your vision for a relationship that truly honors you. Imagine for a moment the difference between chasing love and attracting it. When you chase, you run breathless, exhausted, always trying to prove. But when you attract, you stand tall. You hold your ground. You know your worth, and you let the right person come into your orbit naturally. The energy is completely different. One drains you, the other sustains you. And the shift happens the instant you decide to stop making someone else's lack of effort the reason you keep giving more. This is your wake-up call. Your heart is too valuable, your time too precious, and your dreams too sacred to waste on someone who doesn't step forward with you. The love you're searching for won't be found in chasing. It will be found in choosing yourself, in valuing yourself so fiercely that only those who are willing to match your energy will ever have a place in your life. The person who is meant for you will not make you beg. They will not leave you guessing. They will invest because they see you as priceless. And you are. Always remember that. The hardest part about letting go of someone who isn't investing in you is not the loss of them. It's the loss of the dream you attach to them. You build a vision in your mind of how it could be, how it should be, how it might feel if only they gave you what you were giving them. That dream feels intoxicating, like a movie you don't want to stop watching. And yet the longer you hold on to that dream, the further you drift from reality. The reality is simple. You cannot build a healthy relationship on potential. You cannot spend your life waiting for someone to become who you hope they would be. Your heart deserves more than potential. It deserves presence, real, consistent, undeniable presence. When someone chooses you, you don't have to wonder. Their effort speaks, their actions prove it. They show up, not when it's convenient, not when they fear losing you, but because it's who they are and how much they value you. And when you cling to someone who only offers potential, you rob yourself of the opportunity to experience the kind of love that doesn't make you question your worth. Psychologists have long studied a concept called intermittent reinforcement. It explains why inconsistent people can hold such a strong grip on us. When attention comes unpredictably, sometimes warm, sometimes cold, it creates the strongest form of attachment. Your brain becomes hooked on the highs and lows, the uncertainty, the waiting. It's the same principle that makes slot machines addictive. You never know when the payoff will come, so you keep playing. But love should never be a gamble. Your heart is not a slot machine. You are not meant to sit there pulling the lever, hoping for a jackpot that never arrives. When you accept inconsistency as normal, you lower your standards without even realizing it. You begin to see the bare minimum as effort, the occasional gesture as proof, the rare moment of attention as enough. But deep down, you know it isn't enough. Deep down, you know your soul is starving for more. And the moment you admit that truth to yourself, you begin to reclaim your power. That's when you realize the problem was never you wanting too much. The problem was settling for too little. Think about what changes the moment you stop clinging to potential and start demanding presence. Your energy shifts, your confidence rises. You send a clear signal to the world, I know what I deserve, and I will not waste my time on less. That kind of self-respect is magnetic. It attracts people who are ready to match your energy because they can see you won't settle for games. It creates space for someone who doesn't just whisper promises, but lives them every day. And yes, letting go will sting. Your heart may ache. You may grieve what could have been, but grief is temporary, while self-betrayal lasts a lifetime. Every day you keep waiting for someone to change is another day you delay your own happiness. But every day you choose yourself is a day you move closer to the love and life you've always deserved. This is your moment to stop waiting for potential and start living in presence. Because the love that will transform your life isn't found in what could be, it's found in what is, and it starts with you. When you begin to demand presence instead of potential, something extraordinary happens inside you. The fog starts to lift. You see clearly that love is not meant to be confusing, heavy, or exhausting. Real love does not keep you questioning your value. It affirms it again and again through consistent action. And the moment you realize this, you start to protect your energy with a strength you may not have known you had. You stop giving access to people who drain you. and you start opening space only for those who elevate you. That shift is the foundation of transformation, because the way you allow others to treat you teaches the world how you see yourself. When you tolerate half effort, you send the message that half effort is enough. When you chase someone who doesn't invest, you teach them that they don't need to step up. But when you step back, when you stand firm, when you refuse to accept crumbs, you broadcast a very different truth, that your heart is valuable, your time is rare, and your love is priceless. People can feel that energy. It changes how they approach you. Some will fall away because they cannot rise to meet you. Others will rise because your standard inspires them to show up fully. Either way, you win, because you are no longer wasting yourself on anyone who isn't ready to give what you deserve. This is why setting boundaries is not about pushing others away. It's about pulling yourself back into alignment. Boundaries are not walls, they are filters. They let the right people in and keep the wrong energy out. A boundary says, I know what I bring, and I will not give it to someone who refuses to honor it. That kind of strength doesn't make you unlovable. It makes you unforgettable. It makes you the kind of person who cannot be taken for granted. And here's the part that may scare you. Boundaries will cost you certain people, but they will only cost you the ones who are profiting from your lack of them, the ones who wanted your love without giving love in return, the ones who enjoyed your effort while offering nothing of substance back. Losing them isn't loss, it's freedom. It's making space for the right person who won't be intimidated by your standards, but grateful for them. Psychology tells us that people who have high self-worth naturally command respect without having to fight for it. They walk into rooms with quiet confidence, and others notice. That confidence doesn't come from arrogance, it comes from clarity, from knowing that love is not earned by begging or proving, but by being. And the clearer you become about your value, the less you will tolerate anything that contradicts it. So ask yourself, what would change if you stopped bending yourself for love and started standing in your truth? How much energy would you free up if you no longer try to convince someone to see your worth? How much lighter would your heart feel if you only gave where it was received with equal intensity? That is the life you are meant to live. A life where your love is matched, your heart is cherished, and your presence is seen as the gift it truly is. That life becomes possible the moment you decide that your standards are not negotiable and your worth is not up for debate. The greatest shift happens when you no longer measure your worth by how much someone else invests in you, but by how much you invest in yourself. The energy you give inward sets the standard for the energy you accept outward. When you begin to nurture your own growth, your own joy, your own vision, you no longer feel desperate for scraps of attention. You radiate fulfillment, and that fulfillment attracts people who want to add to your life, not drain it. This is where power lives, not in convincing someone to choose you, but in choosing yourself so completely that the right people naturally gravitate toward your light. Think about the times you've sacrificed your needs just to keep someone close. Every compromise that felt heavy, every silence you endured, every moment you convinced yourself that maybe tomorrow they'll try harder. Those moments add up. They don't just hurt your heart, they chip away at your confidence, your spark, your belief in what's possible. But every time you pour energy into yourself instead, into your passions, your goals, your well-being, you rebuild that spark. You remind yourself that life is too short to shrink for love that isn't real. Psychologists call this self-concept clarity, the ability to know who you are, what you stand for, and what you deserve. People with high self-concept clarity experience greater resilience, stronger relationships, and deeper happiness. Why? Because they stop outsourcing their identity to others. They stop asking, am I worthy? And start declaring, I am worthy. That shift is everything. Because when you no longer seek validation from someone who isn't investing in you, you stop giving them the power to define your value. And here's where it becomes even more powerful. When you invest in yourself, you automatically raise your standards without needing to force it. You don't have to beg yourself to walk away from less. Your energy simply no longer matches with people who offer less. It's like tuning a radio. Once you set yourself to a higher frequency, you stop picking up the static of low-effort connections. You naturally attract people who are tuned into the same wavelength of respect, effort, and commitment. But this doesn't happen by accident. It happens by daily choices, by choosing to put your growth before their approval, by choosing to honor your boundaries instead of betraying them, by choosing to walk away when someone shows you with their actions that they will not invest. Every small act of self-investment compounds. until one day you wake up and realize you don't just know your worth, you embody it. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable at first. You may fear losing someone you thought you needed, but what you're really losing is the illusion that you weren't already whole. And what you gain is freedom. Freedom to build a life where your love is not bargaining power, but a blessing. Freedom to create a reality where your presence is celebrated, not tolerated. Freedom to stand so deeply rooted in your own worth that no amount of neglect or half effort can shake your foundation. This is what it means to shift from seeking to embodying, to stop looking for proof in someone else's hands and start living as proof yourself. The moment you embrace that truth, you stop chasing, you stop doubting, you stop waiting. You step fully into the life and the love that has always been waiting for you to claim it. When you finally step into the space of embodying your worth, the world begins to respond to you differently. The same situations that once left you doubting yourself suddenly lose their power over you. What once felt like rejection now feels like redirection. You stop internalizing someone else's lack of effort as evidence that you are unlovable, and you start seeing it as clear confirmation that they were never meant to carry the privilege of your heart. That single shift rewires the way you experience relationships. Instead of asking, why didn't they choose me? You begin declaring, I choose myself. And when you choose yourself, you stop fearing loss. You understand that letting go of someone who isn't investing in you is not a failure. It's protection. It's life removing what was never aligned with your highest good. So many people stay trapped because they fear loneliness. But the truth is, the loneliest place you can ever be is in a relationship where your soul is starving. Walking away may feel empty at first, but that emptiness is sacred. It's the clearing that makes room for something real. It's the silence that allows you to hear your own voice again, the voice that has been drowned out by all the noise of trying to prove your worth. Psychology teaches us that our brains are constantly seeking patterns. If you repeat the same dynamic over and over, giving more while receiving less, your brain begins to normalize that imbalance. It convinces you this is what love looks like, that this is all you can expect. But once you interrupt the pattern, once you break the cycle, you rewire your expectations, you stop equating love with struggle and start equating it with peace, reciprocity, and respect. That rewiring is one of the most powerful acts of self-liberation you will ever experience. And here's the beauty of it. The moment you embody this new pattern, you begin to attract it externally. People who are ready to love you fully will recognize your energy immediately because it will feel different from the energy of someone who accepts less. They will see the way you carry yourself, the way you honor your time, the way you refuse to bend for crumbs, and they will rise to meet you. Because authentic love is drawn to authentic strength. But it all begins with one choice. The choice to stop investing in someone who is not investing in you. The choice to stop bargaining for attention that should flow freely. The choice to stop believing that love is about endurance when in truth, love is about alignment. Every time you cling to someone unwilling to meet you, you delay the love that is waiting to honor you. Every time you compromise your worth, you send a message to the universe that you are willing to accept less. And every time you decide with unshakable certainty that you will no longer participate in that imbalance, you call forward something greater. This is where transformation lives, in the courage to walk away, not because you stopped loving, but because you started loving yourself more. In the strength to stand tall in the face of uncertainty, knowing that uncertainty is still better than the certainty of neglect. In the clarity that tells you your heart is too valuable to be placed in careless hands. This is the moment you shift from waiting to creating, from begging to receiving, from doubting to knowing. And once you reach this place, you will never again settle for a love that cost you your soul. There comes a moment when you realize that your energy is the most valuable currency you own. Every thought, every action, every heartbeat you give to someone is an investment. And just like money, if you invest it in the wrong place, you'll end up broke. But when you invest it wisely, when you place it where it grows, it multiplies into abundance. The danger is not that someone doesn't invest in you. The danger is that you continue pouring into them while neglecting yourself. That is how you bankrupt your spirit. That is how you lose your fire. And the world cannot afford for you to lose your fire. Every time you overextend for someone who isn't showing up for you, you teach yourself a painful lesson that your love is conditional, dependent on their recognition. But true self-love is unconditional. It does not rise and fall with their effort. It is steady, unshakable, and fierce. When you learn to treat your energy as sacred, You begin to move differently. You no longer chase because you understand that love cannot be forced. You no longer beg because you understand that your heart is not a bargaining chip. You no longer accept less because you understand that every yes to less is a no to the fullness you deserve. Psychologists remind us that humans mirror the energy they receive. If you constantly overgive without receiving, you create an imbalance that makes the other person comfortable with giving less. The cycle feeds itself. But the moment you pull back, the moment you stop filling in the gaps they leave, everything changes. They are forced to face the truth of their effort. Some will step up, others will walk away. Either outcome serves you because it reveals what was real and what was never meant to stay. Your responsibility is not to make someone see your value. It is to never forget it yourself. The way you carry yourself sets the tone for every relationship in your life. When you honor your heart, you attract people who honor it too. When you stop tolerating inconsistency, you begin to see clearly who is willing to stand with you. And the people who are unwilling, let them go. Release them with peace, not anger. Because every time you let go of someone who won't invest in you, you step closer to the one who will. Think of how powerful it feels to reclaim your energy, redirect it into your passions, your health, your growth, your dreams. Imagine how unstoppable you become when all the time you once spent waiting for someone to choose you is now spent building a life that lights you up. That is the energy of alignment. That is the energy that transforms your future. When you choose you, everything shifts. Opportunities expand, confidence grows, and love flows naturally toward you because you are no longer blocking it with people who were never capable of giving it. This is your reminder. You are not hard to love. You are not asking for too much. You are simply asking the wrong person. The right one will never make you question your value. They will see it, they will celebrate it, and they will invest in it fully. But before they can arrive, you must be the one who leads by example. You must be the one who shows the world how deeply you believe in your own worth. Because when you do, the world cannot help but rise to meet you there. The moment you fully believe that your worth is not tied to someone else's willingness to invest, you unlock a freedom that changes everything. You stop living in reaction to their choices, and you start creating your own. You stop waiting for them to decide how much you deserve, and you begin declaring it for yourself. That declaration is powerful. It rewrites the story you tell about love. It ends the pattern of chasing validation and begins the journey of embodying dignity. It takes you from hoping someone will see your light to shining so brightly that only those who can stand in its brilliance will remain. What holds most people back is fear, the fear of being alone, the fear of starting over, the fear of not finding something better. But fear is a liar. Fear whispers that settling is safer, that staying is easier, that compromise is noble. Yet deep inside, you know the truth. You know that every time you settle, you silence the voice that's urging you toward more. You know that every time you stay, you delay the love that's waiting for you. And you know that every time you betray yourself, you teach your heart to accept less than it deserves. That is not safety, that is slow erosion of your soul. Psychology shows that humans are wired for growth. Stagnation feels like death to the spirit. That's why staying in a half-hearted relationship drains you so deeply. It goes against your natural design. You are meant to expand, to evolve, to thrive, and you cannot thrive while holding on to someone who refuses to grow with you. The pain you feel in that situation is not a punishment, it is a signal. It is your soul saying, this is not where you are meant to stop. When you learn to listen to that signal instead of silencing it, you reclaim your power to move forward. This is where courage becomes non-negotiable. Courage to walk away even when your heart still aches. Courage to trust that your future holds more than your past. Courage to believe that what you truly deserve will not pass you by if you refuse to settle. Courage is not the absence of fear. It's the decision that your dreams, your peace, and your worth are more important than your fear. And every time you choose courage over comfort, you build a stronger version of yourself. Imagine living with that kind of strength. Imagine looking at your reflection and knowing you never abandon yourself for the sake of someone else's convenience. Imagine carrying the quiet confidence of someone who knows their love is a gift, not a burden. That vision is not far away. It begins with the choices you make today, choices to honor your standards, to protect your energy, to trust your intuition, and to believe that the love you dream of is real and waiting. The truth is, you are not here to beg for love. You are here to embody it. You are here to create a life so rich with self-respect, joy, and purpose that anyone who steps into it will recognize the privilege of being there. And the only mistake that can keep you from it is giving your heart to someone who refuses to give theirs in return. That ends the moment you choose differently. That ends the moment you choose you. When you choose yourself with conviction, you stop waiting for someone else to validate your existence. You begin to live from a place of overflow instead of lack. That shift is magnetic because it comes from truth. People can feel when you are rooted in your own worth. It radiates through the way you walk, the way you speak, the way you carry yourself. It communicates without words that you will no longer entertain anyone who cannot match the energy you bring. And in that state, you are no longer chasing love, you are embodying it. What drains so many people is the endless cycle of proving they are loyal, proving they are worthy, proving they will never leave. But love that must constantly be proven is not love, it is performance. Real connection is not earned through exhaustion, it is revealed through alignment. And when you stop performing, you stop attracting roles that diminish you. You step into relationships where you can simply be, where your presence is enough, where your authenticity is valued more than any act you could ever put on. This is the reward of walking away from someone who refuses to invest. You create space for authenticity. You break the cycle of striving and finally allow yourself to rest in the truth of who you are. That rest is not weakness. It is strength. It is the strength of someone who knows their identity is not for sale. It is the strength of someone who has outgrown begging for love and instead chooses to live as love itself. Psychology tells us that self-esteem grows when actions align with values. Every time you honor your standards, you reinforce your belief in yourself. Every time you refuse to accept less, you strengthen your sense of identity. That's why leaving a one-sided relationship, though painful, ultimately builds confidence. It proves to your subconscious mind that you trust yourself enough to protect your future. That trust is the foundation of every powerful transformation. Because once you know you can rely on yourself, you no longer cling to those who cannot be relied upon. Think about how liberating it feels when you realize you no longer need to fight for someone's effort. No more decoding mixed signals, no more overthinking silence, no more shrinking yourself to fit into spaces never meant for you. Instead, you stand tall in the clarity that you deserve consistency, and you will not settle for anything less. That clarity is the highest form of self-respect. It doesn't just change your relationships, it changes your life. When you carry that kind of clarity, you begin to design a life that reflects it. You invest your energy into what grows you. You surround yourself with people who lift you higher. You build habits that honor your body, your mind, and your spirit. You create a vision for your future that excites you, not drains you. And as your life expands, the kind of love that fits into it also expands. Because the love you attract will always mirror the love you give yourself. This is the truth you must hold close. The right person will not require you to abandon yourself to earn their investment. They will celebrate you for standing tall. They will admire the very strength that someone else once tried to take advantage of. And when that moment comes, you will understand why it was so important to walk away from anything less. Because the love that is aligned with your soul will never make you feel small. It will make you feel infinite. There's a quiet power that rises in you when you stop giving your love to places that cannot hold it. It is the power of reclaiming your voice, your boundaries, your vision. For too long, you may have allowed someone else's effort or lack of it to dictate how much you gave. But now that cycle ends. Because love is not about proving. It is not about filling in someone else's gaps. It is about mutual recognition, mutual effort, mutual commitment. Anything less is an illusion. And illusions may comfort you for a moment, but they will always collapse under the weight of truth. When you face that truth with courage, you unlock a deeper kind of freedom. Freedom from the endless mental calculations of what did I do wrong? Freedom from the exhausting chase for reassurance that never lasts. Freedom from mistaking chaos for passion and silence for rejection. The truth brings you back to yourself. It reminds you that you are not unworthy. You are not unlovable. You are not too much. You are simply in the wrong place, offering your heart to someone unwilling to rise to meet it. And once you accept that, you stop wasting energy trying to change what was never yours to change. Psychologists call this internal locus of control, the belief that your power lies within you, not outside of you. People who develop this mindset experience more resilience, more confidence, and more happiness because they no longer give away their agency. They don't wait for someone else to determine their value. They define it for themselves. And when you embrace that mindset in love, you stop being a passenger in your own story. You take the wheel. You steer toward relationships that align with your standards, and you never again settle for the back seat in someone else's life. Think about how your life transforms when you no longer beg for effort. Instead of sending energy outward towards someone who won't invest, you redirect it inward and upward. You pour into your growth, your goals, your joy. You begin to shine brighter. And as you shine, you attract people who are drawn not to your weakness, but to your strength. You stop being magnetized to inconsistency and start being magnetic to authenticity. That is the shift that changes everything. And yes, it will require letting go of the fantasy that maybe one day they will see you differently. Maybe one day they will wake up and finally match your energy. But fantasies are dangerous when they keep you bound to reality that drains you. Releasing them feels like grief at first, but it is actually rebirth. Because with every release comes new space. Space for peace. Space for clarity. Space for a love that does not live in maybe, but in absolutely. Your heart is too sacred to gamble on maybe. Your energy is too rare to be spent proving yourself. Your time is too precious to wait for someone who will not arrive. The love you deserve is steady, present, and secure. It won't ask you to question your worth. It will reflect it back to you every single day. But you only meet that love when you are willing to stop betraying yourself for the illusion of connection. You meet it when you decide that your self-respect is non-negotiable and your standards are permanent. From that decision forward, your life becomes the proof that you no longer settle for less. The decision to no longer settle for less is the moment you step into alignment with who you were always meant to be. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into places that cannot contain you. You stop twisting your light to accommodate shadows that cannot embrace it. You rise into your full height, and in that rising, you send a message not only to the world, but to yourself. I am worthy of love that is certain, consistent, and whole. That message becomes the foundation of everything you build from this moment forward. The mistake so many make is thinking they must fight for love to prove it is real. They believe struggle makes it valuable, that chasing makes it meaningful, that enduring neglect makes it noble. But the truth is the opposite. Love is not found in struggle, it is found in flow. Love is not built in resistance, it is built in harmony. The more you exhaust yourself trying to extract effort from someone who withholds it, the further you move from the kind of love your soul was designed to receive. The only thing proven in struggle is how much of yourself you're willing to sacrifice, and that sacrifice comes at the cost of your peace. Psychology confirms that human beings thrive in environments of security and trust. Our nervous systems calm when we feel safe, when we know someone is reliable, when love is steady. That calm is not boring, it is healing. It allows your energy to expand rather than collapse. It allows you to dream bigger, to grow deeper, to love more freely. When you accept inconsistency as normal, you live in a constant state of anxiety, always waiting for the other shoe to drop. That is not passion, it is survival mode. And no heart can flourish in survival mode. Flourishing comes only when you choose environments and people that offer stability, reciprocity, and care. This is why your standards matter so deeply. They are not walls to keep love away. They are gates to let the right love in. Every time you lower them, you invite chaos. Every time you uphold them, you filter out the noise. Your standards are the declaration of your worth. And when you refuse to compromise them, you make space for love that rises to meet you. That is the kind of love you are searching for, and it begins with the courage to demand it without apology. So ask yourself, what are you truly craving? Is it the adrenaline of uncertainty or the peace of knowing you are safe in someone's hands? Is it the fleeting thrill of mixed signals or the deep fulfillment of consistent love? Your answer will shape your reality. If you crave peace, you must walk away from chaos. If you crave fulfillment, you must release the emptiness of half effort. The life you desire is always one choice away, and that choice is refusing to betray yourself any longer. When you finally stand in that truth, you stop waiting. You stop hoping someone will change. You stop clinging to potential. You live as someone who knows their value, who honors it daily, who refuses to settle for less than it deserves. And in that living, you invite into your life the love that does not need to be chased, begged for, or earned. It arrives because it recognizes what you already know: you are enough, exactly as you are. When you embody the truth that you are already enough, something extraordinary begins to shift within you. The energy you once poured into over-explaining yourself, over-giving, or overweighting is reclaimed. That energy becomes fuel for your own evolution. You start to invest in the parts of yourself that make you feel alive: your dreams, your creativity, your health, your joy. And as you invest in yourself, you become magnetic, not because you are trying to impress, not because you are performing, but because genuine self-respect is the most powerful signal you can send. It tells the world that you are no longer available for half love, for half effort, for half truths. You are available only for the full expression of love, the full measure of respect, the full presence of another soul who is ready to meet you. The human mind is wired to mirror what it receives. When you accept neglect, you teach yourself that neglect is tolerable. When you accept inconsistency, you train your brain to normalize uncertainty. But when you demand respect, you condition yourself to expect it. When you embody worth, you prime yourself to recognize it. Over time, your choices, your boundaries, and your energy all align with this new standard, and that alignment creates transformation. This is why so much of change is not about forcing someone else to see your value. It is about finally seeing it yourself clearly without distortion. Many people fear that if they set boundaries, they will end up alone. But what they do not realize is that by not setting them, they end up lonelier than ever. Lonely inside a relationship, lonely inside constant waiting, lonely inside an effort that is never returned. Boundaries do not isolate you, they liberate you. They clear the space of those who are not ready, so the ones who are can finally find you. Boundaries are not punishments, they are invitations. An invitation for love to rise higher, for connection to deepen, for truth to take root. When you enforce them, you are not closing doors, you are opening the right ones. The courage to walk away from someone who does not invest in you is not about rejection, it is about redirection. It is about choosing a path that leads to your wholeness rather than clinging to one that keeps you fractured. The moment you let go of what is not aligned, you begin to align with what is. Life cannot give you what you deserve if your hands are still gripping what you don't. Release is the bridge to renewal, and renewal is the gateway to real love. Every step you take toward valuing yourself more becomes a declaration. It declares that you are no longer waiting for scraps. It declares that you are no longer silencing your needs. It declares that you will no longer tolerate emotional absence dressed as love. You become the living proof that it is possible to rise above patterns, possible to break cycles, possible to claim more than what you once believed you had to accept. And in that proof, you inspire others to rise with you. Because this journey is not just about finding love, it is about becoming love, becoming the kind of person who no longer bends out of desperation, who no longer hides out of fear, who no longer betrays themselves for the illusion of closeness. You become someone who stands tall, steady, unshaken. And when you reach that place, love does not just find you. It stays, it grows, it thrives, because it has finally found a heart that knows its own worth. There is a strength inside you that has been waiting for permission to emerge. And the moment you decide to stop chasing someone who is not investing in you is the moment that strength is finally unleashed. It is not loud at first. It begins as a quiet certainty, a stillness that says, I deserve better. That stillness grows into conviction, and that conviction becomes the force that changes everything. It shifts the way you walk into a room, the way you speak your truth, the way you carry yourself when faced with people who cannot meet your standards. This power is not about arrogance. It is about alignment. It is about knowing that love should not feel like begging, that partnership should not feel like convincing, that your heart should not be a place where you are constantly auditioning for acceptance. When you choose self-respect over desperation, your entire nervous system begins to heal. The endless cycle of hope and disappointment loses its grip, and your body no longer lives in a constant state of tension. Science shows that when we are trapped in unstable relationships, our stress levels rise, our sleep suffers, our focus weakens, and our overall health declines. That is not a price worth paying for attention that arrives in fragments. Your peace is too valuable to trade for inconsistency. By stepping away, you give your mind, body, and spirit the chance to return to balance. And from that balance comes clarity. Clarity about who you are. Clarity about what you want. Clarity about the love you deserve. It takes courage to stand in that clarity because the world will test it. Someone will try to charm their way back. Someone will try to convince you that your standards are too high. Someone will suggest that settling is safer than being alone. But you must remember, safety is not found in lowering yourself. Safety is found in elevating your boundaries. The love that is truly meant for you will never require you to abandon your values, your needs, or your dignity. If you have to shrink to keep it, it is not love. It is attachment disguised as connection.